This week in media, Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos says the company could someday be worth $1 trillion. The financier behind Happy Feet and The Matrix is now up for auction, while the Sinners movie stays at number one. But what's it all mean? We've got Fast Channel expert and film producer Geoff Clark in the house to break it down. Hey Jeff, thanks for calling on Make That Make Sense.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Eric.
Really appreciate you taking the time. I've been loving the content you've been posting on LinkedIn lately and all your insights on all things media. So knew you'd be somebody that
Thanks.
we had to have on the show. So looking forward to it. Should we get right into the headline?
Sure, let's rock and roll.
So the co-CEO of Netflix said this the other day at Semaphor's World Economy Conference, and it raised a lot of eyebrows. Netflix currently has a market cap of 450 billion, and they're looking for that special $1 trillion number. So let's start off with this. Can Netflix reach that $1 trillion valuation just through its streaming business? And if it can't, how important is diversification in order for it to do so?
Well, I think there's a lot of factors involved in that, but I think they have a good shot at it. I think if you're going to bet on one company, Netflix is definitely a company to bet on, as their history has shown. I think one of their glaring holes that I noticed in their last reporting was only 4% of them from the ad market. And I think that's a huge opportunity for them, especially now that they're doing these, live-ish sports. I think they're more so events, whether it's the Tyson fight, or the World Wrestling now. It's like, these are sort of sports. They even did the F1 golf mashup,
Yeah.
which was incredible. And I don't know who sold that, but like my hat is off to that producer. Like
Oh,
genius,
100%.
genius deal. But I think you'll see a lot more than that. And if they do step into more of these major league games, there's gonna be ads, and they're gonna have to have ad support. So I don't know. In my opinion, if I was the co-CEO, I would instantly add a fast component. Obviously, I'm biased. I come from the fast space. And I would do exactly like what every other major studio is now doing with all these fast channels, and I would have the bespoke ones. You could have your Stranger Things channel, which would be pretty sweet. I would definitely binge that in a row, as would probably millions of other people.
Yeah.
And you could do things like Squid Game, and it could be partially the scripted, partially the unscripted version. Um, and in addition to their own bespoke channels, you could go and cherry pick all of the best other channels in the ecosystem. And then all of a sudden, you're now the Comcast Spectrum replacement.
Hmm.
And cable, other than being a Wi Fi connection service, that cable business kind of becomes obsolete because you could do it at the same cost and or free for the exact same that they're doing now, and just open up that 4% to even if it hit 25% in the course of a year or two. When Amazon turned on that little button, do you want ads or not? For 2.99, you can get less ads. Like instantly, they made $1 billion that
Yeah.
year. So I think Netflix could easily offer something like that, still keep their premium good stuff, behind the paywall, but anything that's legacy library or third party, you use that to entice people and keep them in. And as I think he said, it was what was his quote? It was like quality watch time versus wasting time, or something along those lines. And it's like, you could have both, and they're to reach $1 trillion, they're gonna have to do both. It's like,
For sure.
I
Yeah.
don't know,
There's
you
a
can't get
lot.
more subscribers. You just
No,
eventually there's no more people to subscribe. you
exactly.
know
I know. You need a lot of people to doing a lot of wasting time watching Netflix to do that, but it could be in their future. Another point, and you brought this up about looking at their last report, they said that after Q1 of this year, they were going to stop reporting their subscription numbers, which for a streaming service kind of seems like a big deal, especially in terms of how analysts or people in the industry look at Netflix's growth. How do you think not sharing subscriber numbers anymore will change that analysis? Will we just kind of take Netflix's word? How do you kind of view that?
I mean, great question. If you don't have to technically subscribe to become a customer, what is there to report? So
Hmm.
my hunch is if you offer something for free that's completely free that you could still monetize in a big, big way because of ads or sponsorships or whatever, they're going to do it. So, and I think like probably the real sentiment there is they're no longer going to be subscription focused. They're going to be revenue focused. And I
Yeah.
think that's the message they really wanted to send saying that. But again, you're going to run out of people who can subscribe to a service that's $25 a month eventually.
Yeah.
And, Netflix is a big brand now, and they want to get them in. If they're willing to put money towards these like gaming experiments that I don't know, maybe I'm probably too old. I would never game on my TV except unless with a PlayStation or an actual like gaming box, But like, I don't know, does that keep people in Netflix? I don't know. I feel like the more simpler route is you just let people sit back and watch a linear feed of all the best stuff. Then they're definitely going to stay in. They'll probably forget they're even in Netflix at some point. It's just going to all become one cable, VOD, streaming. It's just going to be streaming television. Like that's it. That'll be it.
Well, if I might be a case study for forgetting where I am in front of the television because I do that at least on a weekly basis. So I'd agree with you there. All right, should we move on to our tweet?
Sure.
This tweet is from the great Lucas Shaw at Bloomberg News, and I want to get your opinion on his take here. First off, I want to say candidly, I have not watched the Sinners movie yet, which is something that needs to be on my to-do list. But what do you think about Lucas's take here? Do you agree with it? Why or not?
I mean, I don't know. I think the whole sentiment of like one film saves Hollywood is a little bit preposterous.
Yeah,
Just in general, whether, they said it about Oppenheimer or and then Barbie, and they always say it about every time Tom Cruise does a new Mission Impossible. You know what I mean? It's, whatever. And I think, I don't know. Yes, Hollywood is not doing as well as it used to do, but to think that one film can save anything is preposterous. I also, I love Lucas Shaw, and I love especially when he goes on the town with Matt Maloney, and I do like reading Bloomberg, especially for his insight, and he gets great sources, and he's always like one step ahead, and I think that's great. Um, and I have yet to see Sinners. I plan on going seeing it this weekend. Um, but I don't know. It is a cultural phenomenon. I think like to make an original movie that breaks through, that is just so good that people just want to see it word of mouth, um, is rare, and I think that's been reserved for mostly old IP that we're familiar with or superhero type movies. And to do an original like this in this environment that does 60 million, opening weekend, that's incredible. And Ryan Coogler is a genius,
yeah.
and Michael B. Jordan is a star, that is for sure. And I think that's what should be focused on is like what an amazing movie they made. And yeah, it's not going to save Hollywood. I mean, but unless they start fighting AI robots or something, I don't know, like the actual AI robots that
Yeah.
are being made, then no. But I think for original films to get a shot at a box office release, um, this is definitely going to help. And we need more films like that, in my opinion. A lot of this just go to streaming, especially niche films that 10 years ago would have made 30 million box office, just go straight to Netflix. And not that that's a bad thing, but I think for all filmmakers to have original ideas that impact audiences like this, I think it's good.
Obviously, getting an independent film to make it to the box office is a real challenge now, as you just brought up. If we're looking at this as a possible blueprint for this happening again in the future, what does that require? Does that require an A-list director, an A-list actor like a Michael B. Jordan, or is it about the script? How do you kind of view what's the perfect recipe for for this to making this happen again?
Ugh. I mean, I think it's with Sinners. Again, I haven't seen it yet, but from what I've read and the trailers and stuff, they checked every single one of those boxes,
Yeah.
um, which is a rare feat in itself. And Ryan Coogler makes great movies, and Michael B. Jordan makes great movies. They're really good at what they do. And I think even as audiences, we're super spoiled because mid-level content is amazing. So when something like this comes along, and you're just like, this is incredible and something we've never seen and a story we've never really been told in a way that we never thought about, that's a difficult feat. That is a very difficult feat to pull off.
Yeah, it's definitely not something I would want to take on personally, but hopefully somebody else will.
Good on them. I mean, I think Kugler's got more of them in him. I mean, he's like
Yes,
not even, I think he's like 40 or not even 40 yet. And he's like, every single one of his movies has just crushed it.
I know.
Like, good for him. Love it.
Insane. All right, let's go on to our deal. So, a little bit of background, Village Roadshow, which has been one of the most prominent back-end film financiers for a while, last month just filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And now Alcon Media Group set basically the floor price at around $350 million, and there will be an auction to go off next month. I want to look at more of a macro perspective here. What does this sale say about the current state of film production and film financing in Hollywood, and how is it shifting?
Um, I think we're just in a different time than we've seen in past years. Obviously, the strikes did not help and pandemic did not help. And I think we're under a technological revolution, which is going to upend a lot of the industry. Um, you know, I don't think it's great when any of these companies go out of business. I think the more of these companies that exist, the better for the ecosystem. Obviously, more jobs, more original films are being made, like The Matrix. Um, you know, so it's sad to see brands like Village Roadshow go away. Um, but as far as that deal goes, I don't know. I mean, depending on if they own the actual copyrights on some of those movies and especially The Matrix and all the Oceans films, I don't know, maybe 400 million is a steal.
That's the
I
way
mean,
I was reading it too. It almost seems like a bargain. Um,
yeah. I mean, now that I saw that, I'm like, man, can I raise a fund real quick and
yeah.
like throw my hat in the ring on that? Because I don't know. I think you look with the endless possibilities with technology coming, all of those rights, especially the spin-offs and recrees and everything you could do with something like The Matrix and video games. And I don't know, it just seems like that franchise alone would have more value. But then again, you'd have to dig deeper into the rights and see what that library includes. But 100 movies in itself,
It's
not
not
bad.
nothing. It's
I
not
mean,
nothing.
it's not nothing, but I don't know. Sounds
Yeah.
like there's some winners in there.
I guess as a last open-ended question, if you want to think about in the next 10 years, what does effective film financing look like? That obviously depends whether it's the box office or a small independent film, but how do you look at, smart financing of films going forward?
Oh man. I think it depends on the film and the model. Today being able to shoot in tax rebate states and things like that where you could collateralize your money, foreign pre-sales and whatever. I don't think that's ever going to go away because people are going to get need to actors will still make money,
Yeah.
and people need to get paid in order for this business to exist at all. So I don't think that'll go away, whether that's more films or less films or just less crew. Um, I don't know. I think that's getting all kind of shifted and worked out now, for better or for worse. I mean, out of my personal control.
Yeah.
But I don't know. it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. But I think as long as filmmakers or future studios back into the actual business model of whatever that is, that's how they'll be successful. I
Mm,
think that's the going back to like streaming television and these like fast channels. I think that's why a lot of these channels originally existed. It was in essence like found money for a lot of these content
yeah.
library owners. And so, if you had 100 alien movies, you launched an alien channel. If you had 100 war movies, you watched a war channel. Um, so I think we'll see a little bit of that kind of sentiment um, and process. So I don't know. Will AI take crews down from 50 people to 5 people? I don't know. Will half the actors be AI? I don't know. I mean, hopefully not. Hopefully it still feels human and, you know, like art to some degree,
Yeah.
but it'll probably be both.
Well, we can only hope, and we'll have to
So.
see. All right, let's finish off with some quick trivia questions.
Oh, okay, here we go.
All right, so true or false? Vox Media is the parent company of The Verge.
Oof, can't remember this. Uh, True. I can't remember who Vox Media bought up.
It would be true. Okay, one for one. Let's try to make it two for two. Okay, two truths and a lie. Which one is the lie? Newsmax raised 85 million for its IPO. Stephen A. Smith's new ESPN contract is worth 20 million a year. And Sinners' second weekend in North America brought in $45 million.
Well, that one is true. I'm gonna say 2 and 3 are true.
We've got a trivia master here. It was actually, I think they raised 75 million at IPO, so close. But yeah,
Billy
Stephen A.
is.
Smith is doing well. So that one you got correct
He
also.
certainly is.
Yeah. All right, Geoff. We'll really appreciate you coming on and kind of breaking down some weekly stories in the media industry, and looking forward to keeping in touch.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. Thanks for having me.